now. Listen up.
3, 2, 1.
It's showtime.
That's great.
This is ridiculous.
99.3 The Truth.
You can't handle the truth right now.
Ooh.
That was the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Let's do it. Hit it.
It's time for Max World.
And here we go.
Everybody, let's get it started. Let's get it started in here.
Call Matt 244-0077 or text 809-0993.
It's showtime, everybody! Showtime!
Exclusively on 99.3 The Truth.
3:07, live on the 29th day of September in the Lord's year 2016. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is Max World Live. MAC''S worldlive.com right here at the only place you'll find me Monday through Friday on The Truth, 99.3. We have a cast of characters. Think about the show Seinfeld and how there were those 5 or 6 characters that were carefully chosen for their natural ability to act and be in character that was closest to themselves. That was one of the things that Jerry Seinfeld always said, that he thought he loved his cast more than anything because most of them were just like their characters, and that's the best way to do it. So we have a cast of characters here, and I guess if we wanted to compare them to Seinfeld, we could. Chris, who would you be?
Newman.
You'd be Newman.
I love it. He's
Frank,
cool.
Who would you be?
Hello, Newman.
We know who you'd be.
I'd be the crazy guy that comes in with the wild
What was
hair.
his name?
What was his name? I don't remember.
You talking Kramer?
Kramer.
Bob, who would you be?
Don't know. Haven't watched the show.
You've never watched Seinfeld?
Well, not completely throughout. I mean,
parts and bits.
Very few. Yeah, this just wasn't my show.
Better.
So who would Bob be then?
He can be Norm. I want to be Elaine.
You want to be Elaine?
Yeah, I think in my heart, I'm really Elaine.
And so Bob's going to be Newman.
Newman, yeah. When I say Norm,
Is that
that's
good?
Cheers. That's Cheers. That's a different show. You could be Norm from Cheers.
You could be Norm from Cheers who drops in.
Who drops in?
Who
yeah.
was the George? Was that the neurotic guy?
Well, yeah, because either I'm Jerry or I'm George.
That's all that's left.
You would, who would you want to be?
I
don't want to be George.
I could be Mrs. Costanza.
There you go.
George's mother.
Oh yeah, you could be George's mother or her father.
There we go.
I think Mac is kind of like Mrs. Costanza.
What are you thinking about?
Yeah, that's
What are you thinking about, Georgie?
Never smiles.
Yeah. What's funny about that show is I never watched it when it was in regular runs, but now I watch it all the time on.
Oh man, it's so funny. My wife and I, we quote that constantly, and my kids now know when we're quoting Seinfeld. My kids have never seen an episode, but they know instantly. Oh, that's a Seinfeld, isn't it? And we're like,
that's funny
because it still is applicable to everyday life.
It's true.
The genius of Seinfeld.
Well, it's interesting because I've had I've used Seinfeld as an example of how you put together radio teams. That you don't find a bunch of people who are alike. You find people who are very different, which obviously we have done here. And we can't forget Jeb. Jeb would probably be Seinfeld. He'd probably be Jerry.
Orchestrator.
Yeah, because he puts it all together, and he's very dry humor, and
he's the sane one.
He's the only sane one here. Young enough to know better, but
Kramer's still the best.
Kramer is the best, and I think Frank is.
That character is.
Can you maybe one day kind of rough up your hair a little bit?
Oh man!
All right.
Yeah.
So David Bloom is here from Two Rivers Church.
How long have we known each other?
I don't. Probably
You just
2004.
You still haven't got my name right, not once.
What did I call you?
David.
Oh, Davey Bloom. Well, I was talking to your grandmother today, and all she says is David,
I
David,
know, because
David.
she is mad.
She's mad? Like crazy mad?
No,
Or
I'm just kidding.
Okay. Anyway, they meet at the Des Moines Social Club at 10:30 in the morning, very close to going to 2 services, which they would prefer not to do. But you may have to, and but that's your favorite place so far that you've been?
It's one of them, yeah.
Callahan was pretty cool, but just expensive.
Yeah, Callahan was all right. I mean, again, is pretty. Had that, I don't know, schoolroom cafeteria feel.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think my favorite place for you guys was
Kitty's.
Yeah, it was 16 years ago.
Yeah, something like that.
that a little wet behind the ears, Davey Bloom. What were you then? How old were you 16 years ago? Were you 16?
Younger.
16? You're about 32 now?
I'm 43 now.
Are you really?
Yeah.
So anyway, he come popping into one of the places that I owned and said, "Hey, Mr. McCoy, I'm your biggest fan." And let me give you my name. My name is David Bloom. And
I must have been hammered because I do not remember that.
I have an up and coming church, and we'd like to meet in a bar. And I said, "Cool," and we did. Started out at a little one and then moved to another one.
First bar hopping church.
Yep, bar hopping church. That's right. And the Des Moines Register, you probably don't remember it, but if you ever want to see a copy of it, I have it in my office. Wrote a really good story called "God on a Bar Stool." Yeah, they represented you well. All right, and I still have the picture of the angel, that girl, Drew,
or painted. Yeah.
All right, so
you've had a little bit of luck with in the media. Some of your religious stuff.
Religious?
Well, the Des Moines Register, like you said, portrayed our church and indirectly your establishment in a positive way.
Yeah, and you know what? This is going to sound funny, but even back then when I didn't know Jesus, I still only cared about the church and the press they got. We got what we got. Yeah. But isn't that funny how back then I was excited about, I guess it is religion at that point. It certainly wasn't relationship.
Right.
Davey had, I'm going to get it right.
It doesn't matter. I shouldn't give you a hard time. I should just let it slide.
It's
okay. Just funny.
No, because if you called me Jay, I'd be upset about that.
Really?
You should have seen the look on that face.
I think we all thought it. I was trying to figure out how to work it in.
Yeah. Okay. Yay.
But no, I bring that up with the Register because I heard that you recently wrote an article with the New York Times, right?
Yep.
And that was positive as well, correct?
Yep. Came out today online, and it will be, I guess it'll be the big Sunday feature, the front page of the religious thing for the New York Times. But what happened was Lori Goodstein, who is an amazing, she is she's just top of journalists. She's just one of those people that's really good. Before she worked for the New York Times, she was with Newsweek for a dozen years. So she's really good. And she came to take a look at the election and religious freedom and all of that through the eyes of Dick and Betty Odegaard from the Gort's House, who, if you may recall, Dick and Betty Odegaard had a little place in Grimes, very successful, loved it, called the Gort's House. It had flowers, and it had framing, and it had food, and it had jewelry and art. And one day, two gay men who had already been married in Polk County, we went back and did that investigation. They had their marriage license on record at Polk County. And they set them up. They set Dick and Betty up. There's no doubt. I'd like to have somebody tell me they didn't. They specifically chose them. Targeted, knowing that they would say no to a wedding at their church. And then the Civil Rights Commission came in and sued them and shut them down. Lost everything. And at the same time, I go in there because somebody tells me that they have these German rolls called Zammel, and somebody tells me that they have those there. And so I go in and one day to get Zammel, and I'm talking to Betty a little bit, and come to find out we're from the same area, and my grandmother was Mennonite, and she was Mennonite, and then she begins to tell me the story about what's going on there, which I hadn't heard. And I'm honored to say this. She adopted me as her pastor, because they had been pushed out of the Mennonite church because they didn't want the press, and they didn't have any place else to go. So I went in probably once a week, a couple times a month, and just prayed with Betty whenever she needed to pray, her and her husband. And then at the same time, you've got going over here, you've got Ryan Jorgensen, who moved here from Ohio, Indiana, something like that. And he planted Harvest Bible Chapel. And one of my passions, as we just talked about, is to help a church find a permanent place. I know real estate, and I don't charge anything. I don't get a commission or anything. I work with brokers who do get commissions sometimes. And I introduced Ryan and the Gorts, or the Odegaards, Dick and Betty. And
those two.
Not only did they end up selling their church building to Harvest, but they are now positive and productive members of that. So anyway, my name kept coming up in front of this New York Times writer. And so I guess she called you, or did she call me?
Yeah, she called me, and then we invited her down to come view the show while she was in town doing the story.
Yeah.
And she kind of then got to know you even better.
Yeah, her and I went out to the Roast and Ride, Joni's Roast and Ride, and I introduced her to, I didn't realize how many people in the political world that I knew until I was sitting in one of these big rallies.
Starting to introduce.
Yeah, trying to bring people to her.
Yeah.
And, man, I'm just so blessed. I mean, there's some people out there that don't like me, and I understand that. But for the most part, well, I do.
Well, and there's only 3 or 4 of them in this room.
So it's just me and Jeff, huh? Is that what you're saying? Okay. But anyway, so she just decided to add us into the story. And one of the pictures they have in there is a picture of my office, which has 3 of my favorite things. 1, I'm holding Picasso, my dog. Number 2, all my stuffed furry friends that I have from cartoon characters. And a picture that Bill Butler, and some of you may know Bill and some of you may not, but Bill is an awesome artist from Des Moines who now lives in New Jersey and has a studio out there. And one of my favorite pictures that he does, and there's only 2 copies in the world, and I have one of them, is of Doubting Thomas, Jesus taking Thomas's hand and putting it into his side.
Nice.
To show him that he is the resurrected Christ. And so anyway, nice picture. Jill's upset that I wasn't smiling. He told me not. He said, "Now don't smile on this one. I just want a serious picture." But it's a great
Picasso's
story.
Smiling.
No, Picasso's got his head on my chest, and he's just crashed out because it was after a show.
And Elmo was smiling.
Yeah. But
well, you just got done tickling him, so he usually does smile.
And the article is not about us or the radio station. It's about the whole situation with religious freedom. So that's what we're going to talk about when we come back with the Davey Bloom from Two Rivers Church. Frank's here. Chris is here. Bob's here. Jeb's here. Newman's here. We're all here live on The Truth.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi. My name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza! And it's got Graziano sausage!
Rock and Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rock and Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
21 minutes after 3 o'clock, 3:21 in the afternoon. Oh, you know I love talking about Seth Walker. He is my real estate agent. Never knew him before I used him. So we were not friends, and I was looking for a very, very competent real estate agent because mine was retiring. And I had used the same one for years and years and years. And so I was introduced to Seth through Rob Spearman at RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts. And now Seth and I have done 1, 2, 3, 4. And he's working with a couple friends of mine, too. So probably going to have 6 transactions that he's going to help us with right now. Oh, actually, that's not true. It'll be 8. It'll be 8. Anyway, wow. So I just want to tell you that he's a real deal. This is probably a surprise to some of you. When you listen to me on the radio, I'm just sweet as honey. You probably think of me as like Pooh Bear or Tigger. I mean, I'm just that kind of guy. But in
Piglet.
Mm-hmm. But in business, I'm all serious. And sometimes it's not the most enjoyable because I'm not very enjoyable sometimes. That's a character defect of mine. I don't think being unenjoyable is the way anybody should treat another human being. But I just get lost up in the stuff and I forget that I'm dealing with someone who has feelings and, cares and I should be nice to. And so Seth just does such a good job at that. So even if you're a short, tempered old man with white hair, he'll still work with you good. So 577-3728, that's the phone number. Give Seth Walker a call, a professional real estate agent. All right. 23 minutes after 3 o'clock, 29th day of September. We are quickly approaching the end of September and the beginning of the fourth quarter in 2016. It just doesn't seem possible.
It's crazy.
I mean, if you think back, we got our extension on the license in October of 14, moved the station in July of 15, and now here we are 15 months later.
I'm exhausted just thinking about it.
Me too. Well, let's get some energy back because our special guest, Davey Bloom, is in the house. He's one of the founders and planters of Two Rivers Church, and they meet at the Des Moines Social Club at 10:30 in the morning. What? Rosano. Randazzo. That's your lead pastor, right?
He's one of them. Yeah, we have co-lead pastors.
What happened there?
It's been that way for the last 8 years.
Oh, it has? Well, nobody asked me.
Apologize. I'll make sure.
Aren't I an honorary council member? I should be.
You should be.
I should be an honorary council member. I suppose it'd help if I paid my tithe there then.
That would help.
That would. All right, anyway, I don't want to be on anybody's council. So anyway, Davey, many years ago, had an idea to start Two Rivers. Was Two Rivers started before Jake's, or it was just your idea to start that church?
Yeah, it was my idea to start it. Yeah. Well, me and my brother-in-law, but yeah. And so we met for a little while in the basement of a church, the old Cornerstone. It's a different Cornerstone, but anyway, an old church. We met in the basement until we could find a place.
Yeah.
And that's when we were out looking, and that's when we ran across Jake's.
And just so you know, we don't charge. If you want to plant a church and you need a place on a Sunday morning, I've got a place. You can seat 400. You can stand 737. Nice restrooms, no classrooms. And I like nothing more than to put a church. I think you guys gave us like a tax certificate back or something like that, but we don't want your cash. We didn't charge you cash, did we? Yeah, we don't want your cash. God gave us, my partner Pat and Carla and Jeff and I and Jerry, gave us this wonderful facility that we've operated for 17 years now. And we try to do as much as we can to the glory of God. Sometimes people kind of get sideways because it's a nightclub. I mean, that's what it is. It's a nightclub that's been open for 17 years. But if there's a church out there that wants a place to meet on a Sunday morning or whenever they want to, except for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, come talk to me. Especially if you're a younger, which you guys were at the time, a youth-oriented church. Not youth as in middle school or high school, but youth as in early 20s. It's a cool place, lots of parking. Anyway, it's there for you. All right, so Let's talk about religious freedom for a second. We were talking about that a minute ago with the Gort's house, and there's an article that the New York Times has done about the Gort's house and Harvest Bible Chapel, and kind of about this show and how we all participate in both Dick and Betty's life and also in Ryan Jorgensen and Holly's life in that church. Wonderful church, by the way. Great church. And the New York Times religious writer Lori Goodstein, who is as good as they come. And I'm not just saying that because she wrote a story. If you don't think the New York Times looks good on your resume, guess where she used to be for 12 years? Newsweek. I mean, wow. I'm really proud of her. You know, that is not an easy world to compete in. She travels all over the world and deals with every religion, everything that there is out there. And she and her husband are Jewish and go to synagogue. But Lori told me that she loves Jesus. She's got a relationship with him. And that's kind of hard in New York City when you're Jewish and, you know, you've been Jewish all this time. But with all the people that she's ever interviewed and talked to about Jesus, she's realized he's real. So that's a good thing. Frank, what?
So is she like a religious correspondent type thing?
Look at that. He's sharp, that one.
Man, this pencil and him, that sharp. Of course, what else would you call her?
Well, is she a journalist for all kind of topics, or just does she specialize in religion?
No, she is the religion, the only journalist that covers religion for the New York Times.
Okay.
And that is online now at NewYorkTimes.com. And then I think Sunday is when the paper's printed. But somebody, Jeff Johnson told me today that you can't find a New York Times in Des Moines, Iowa on Sunday. Now, I just can't believe you couldn't go down to one of the bookstores and find a New York Times. I would just think that would be someplace you... Anyway, I'm going to be out looking on Sunday. Try to get a copy of the New York Times.
Something to do.
Or you could do that.
Yeah.
Because you don't do anything on Sunday.
I'll be busy.
You will?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I sleep in.
You sleep in.
I'm joking.
So, from your standpoint, and how would you define... I mean, you're not... denominational.
Non-denominational.
You're a non-denominational. Where would you land in a world view of religious freedoms?
That's a huge topic. Let's narrow it down a little bit.
Well, some churches ignore it. From the pulpit, from the small groups and everything. We're not a part of this world, just like the sign says, my kingdom is not of this world. They're not interested in anything that's going on political. My church, Hope, is much like that. We just don't do much of that from the pulpit. And then there are some who are pretty heavy into it. You guys are where? In the middle? Not very close to either side?
We're on the other side of Hope.
Really? You talk about it a lot?
No. So take wherever Hope is, we're further away from talking about it than Hope is.
All right. So you never, probably. Why? I respect that.
And we've had this conversation a lot of times about political activism.
Yeah.
As a Christian, and again, we just really feel like that the hope for anything is not found in anything political. So here's where it gets really tough for me. You know, I have the unbelievable blessing from God to be born in the country I'm born in.
Yep.
So I don't deny that for a second. I am unbelievably grateful to God and to the founders of this country, whatever, for instilling the right that we have to do the things that we do. So in no way do I want anybody to ever hear that I don't understand what unbelievable privilege we have as believers to be born into this country, this environment, this set of rules, laws. But in the same token, I am not going to spend any of my time trying to perpetuate anything that has anything to do other than the kingdom of Christ.
Yeah.
Now, I think a natural outpoint of the kingdom of Christ is to have a society much like what we have versus some of the other societies you see in the world.
Meaning a versatile society?
Freedom.
Oh, free. Okay.
In other words, you go to any communist or any country like that where you don't have any freedom to do anything. And what I'm saying is that the love of God that manifested in people's lives, the outpouring of that, or one of the results of that, is laws like what we have, which I think you see in the founders. And I'm not saying the founders were all unbelievably godly men, but they did have a Judeo-Christian framework, worldview, and the outflow of that was freedom and governed by laws and some of the things that we see. And so if someone came to me and said, hey, we really need to do something to change something in this country, my initial response is not let's change laws, because laws don't hardly change anything. They certainly don't change people's hearts. But if you change people's hearts, the outflow of that is laws will change.
Laws. Now, what about what do you think, or what do you say when you hear that common phrase? Well, the church didn't step up. The church didn't do what they were supposed to do. We wouldn't have gay marriage if the church had stepped up. We wouldn't have this rampant disease called divorce every 3 or 4 couples going on, because if the church had stepped up, if the church had stepped up.
Well, there's certainly some things where the church should step up. Again, when it comes to the political side, I'm not interested in that. But when it comes to morality, when it comes to loving people, to helping people with whatever their issue is, whether that's the divorce or whatever, that's where that hits home.
Davey Bloom is my guest. Two Rivers Church. They meet at the Des Moines Social Club downtown. That's the old fire engine house. Zachary, who started that? Anyway, he was awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, what a young man came into our community from, I think, Chicago, and said, I'm going to start a social club, and he did it right. I don't think he did anything wrong. And he has established this not-for-profit organization downtown, which I, as a business person, don't like, but you got to give him kudos. I mean, great success. And I think he's moved on.
I think so. I'm not 100% sure of the inner workings of the social club.
Yeah, good guy. All right, and they meet Sunday mornings at 10:30.
Let me ask you a question about ISIS and terrorism. Mac and I I think, line up on the same side with
whoa.
Pastor Stephen Curry. And there's a minister that comes in here, and Roloff kind of line up on this side that bring it on, the more the merrier, just makes more people to proselytize into the kingdom. As far as immigration coming in here that are potentially could be terrorists. That just the more Muslim just makes us more work to proselytize. Mac and I are kind of the mind that we need to vet these people. We need to know who's coming in the country. Now, there's some people that's putting religious freedom that this is discrimination if we discriminate against allowing people in here that have a different faith than us. How would you come down on that religious freedom issue, or would you at all?
Well, see, to me, I don't see that as a religious freedom issue. To me, I see that as a government doing one of its most important jobs, which is protecting its people. Makes no difference to me whether they're Muslim or atheist or Christian. Coming into our country, we need to protect our people, and that's part of our government. I'm a very limited government type of person. And one of the few things that I see the government's inherent responsibilities is protecting its own people. And so whatever they have to do to protect the rest of the country, our country, from immigration, they need to do. Muslim makes no difference to me. That's absolutely irrelevant to me.
Yeah, but if we stop people just based on that, I mean, because Donald Trump, I would go beyond what Donald Trump has to say. I would just say we need to put a moratorium on all immigration. I don't care who it's from. So there's no discrimination to be had. Just simply make the point that we need to vet our people.
All right, we're going to take our break. Davey Bloom from Two Rivers Church is here. Meets at the Des Moines Social Club, 10:30 in the morning. Co-lead pastor is Graziobo.
I'm not even going to tell you anymore. It's just a waste of my time.
What's his name?
Randazzo.
There we go.
You go.
All right. We're coming back live here on The Truth. Yep, it's The Truth.
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Homs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
The same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
3:38. Nice slide. 3:38, 22 minutes before the top of the hour. Top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News. And then it's Davey Bloom for another hour as we talk about...
I love it.
Religious freedom. And later on, what's the school we're going to be talking about, Chris?
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at
Jim,
my
put
terrible
up the green background.
I'm laughing at my terrible job. I didn't think about that. It is the After School Satan Club.
After School Satan Club.
Yes.
ASSC.
ASSC. Yep. That's what they call it. Yeah.
And where's it at?
Well, it's an organization. The After School Satan Club is an organization right now in Portland. The Portland chapter of the Satanic Temple has reportedly succeeded in bringing its After School Satan Club to an elementary school in Portland, Oregon.
That's religious freedom.
That's religious freedom.
There you go. We're going to talk about that a little later.
Yep.
So I was going to tell you, and I've talked about this on the radio a little bit. I bought a new house, and I am so used to quality water, reverse osmosis, stuff like that. And this house did not have that. And I thought, well, I'll save myself a couple $1,000s, and I just won't do it. And I noticed it right away. I'm terribly spoiled. So what did I do? Frank, say it. Who did I call?
You called the Culligan Man.
Very good. At 274-2573, I think.
Yeah, that's a 3, I think.
Okay. The reason we're laughing is that Chris made a information slide for me to read off of for this, and it's terrible.
It's
terrible.
Visible.
Well, on my computer, see, the background was white. I didn't realize that was clear ultimately, so it's kind of made a weird...
So it's family owned. They've got a brand new showroom that they would like you to visit. And where is the showroom, Chris?
It's in the Historic Valley Junction area on the corner of 7th and Railroad. Right on the corner of 7th and Railroad. Easy to see.
So they went through and they redid the whole thing, and I was amazed. I mean, when I first got my first I think it was a Culligan system, I have to be honest with you. I think when I first got that back in 87, 88, 86 probably, it did one thing. I mean, it just softened the water. You know, you had the big thing of salt and it softened the water. And then 12 years ago when I bought my last house, we had reverse osmosis put in. And I drink water. I drink 160 ounces probably a day. I have that big Hy-Vee cup and I fill it 4 times. And so I'm used to this reverse osmosis. And it's interesting because I make coffee every morning. And coffee with reverse osmosis is a lot better than coffee with tap water. Well, now there's all these different things that they can come in and do in the water and not only clean it and cleanse it, but make it more pure. They can take out all the garbage. And as the garbage in the water goes up in our society, in our culture, it's nice to have a Culligan system. Family-owned, dad and son working together, and great people. So give them a call, 515-274-2573, and just tell them Max sent you. Do that voice again, Frank.
Hey, Culligan man.
That's good stuff.
Is that good stuff?
Do we have to pay extra for that?
Yes.
To who?
To Frank?
Double my pay, triple it.
I'm going to double his pay.
Okay, good.
For the way he's saying that. Double it, baby. In fact, you know what, Frank?
Yes.
Triple it.
All right.
Wow, generous man.
Davey Bloom is my guest today. Two Rivers Church, Des Moines Social Club at 10:30 in the morning. And they are non-denominational. They all right. So would you have a sermon or a message on abortion?
We never have.
Okay.
Would we?
Well, obviously not. I mean, in 17 years, you never have.
There's a lot of topics we haven't covered in 17 years.
Name another. But politically, I mean, the stuff you purposely don't cover because you think that's the church shouldn't go there.
Well, we would never endorse a candidate or talk about any type of activism from a political standpoint.
So the whole gay marriage thing, transgender, that's off the table?
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
we absolutely talk about homosexual relationships because that's biblical. We don't talk about the laws as it pertains to those things from a political standpoint.
So your congregants don't have to worry that they're going to walk in and hear a message that is not biblical.
We would certainly hope not.
Well, no, but there's churches out there.
Yeah, there's very few churches that would admit to that. It may be true, but they wouldn't admit to it.
I know it, but it's true, and you know it, Frank.
Well, you're a pastor, and if you live long enough, you're likely going to be faced with the decision to have to turn down some people that want to get married or some people that want some marriage counseling that is same-sex and married.
You mean if he was a pastor? I'm just asking.
If he lives long enough, and he is... You know, he's a pastor, but I'm saying if he lives long enough as a pastor, you'll be faced with that. I think I know what you're going to do, but tell the audience.
Yeah, we would never perform a wedding from that respect. Would we engage in counseling with them? Absolutely.
Do you have openly gay people in your church?
Yes.
Good. See, I'm and you know this, but I was very different 4 or 5 years ago. And God stepped out into my life and said, I asked God this question, am I here to proclaim the gospel or to defend it? And the answer was very clear. God's a big dude. He can defend himself. So I am not, and now it matches my heart. Because what I want to be for people who are in a sinful lifestyle, which I think is everybody in this room and everybody everywhere. Oh, come on, Chris. Step up, little girl. I want to be that guy that gay person or that gambling person or that alcoholic or that serial divorce person, whoever they are, I want to be that person that knows it's safe to come to me and ask about Jesus. Because if all they think they're going to hear from me is, well, before we get to Jesus, let's talk about your lifestyle. Who wants that? And I don't think Jesus would have done that, would he have? So anyway, I'm also blessed. We just don't, we have a very rich culture at Lutheran Church of Hope. And what I mean by that is we're very diversified in that area. Wouldn't marry him, just like you. Would counsel, would do all of that. In fact, the ELCA came out a few years ago and said, you're going to marry. And we said, no, we're not. So how that'll change in the future, I don't know. And quite frankly, it's okay with me one way or the other. But as we talk about religious freedoms, churches, for the most part, should not step up to talk politics from the pulpit.
That's real hard for me to say that for other churches because that's really not my place. It's not a moral issue. It's like me telling another Christian whether they should be involved in politics or not. I can't tell other people that because it's not a moral issue. The Bible doesn't tell us whether to be involved or not. But my understanding of Scripture and our church's understanding of how the church interacts with politics and how individuals interact with it, our church won't. But could other churches? They certainly can. I wouldn't want to go to a church that was like that.
Frank?
Well, in all the years I ever attended the denomination I was in, I never heard a sermon endorsing a candidate or even saying go out to vote. Now, we've had some other pastors come in here, like Michael Damastis, that says, well, hey, come over to my service and I'll give you an earful. I'm of the opinion that we don't endorse from the pulpit.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But again, I'm not going to tell somebody not to do that. That's between them and the Lord.
You know, yesterday, Dave, we had Drew Zahn from the Family Leader in here, and one of the distinctions he made that I thought was really helpful and worth reiterating is that there's a difference between politics and civics. There's a difference between politics and government. So politics is, I like saying this, I think it was Greg Baker who said it this way, politics is the game we play for power. Politics is all about power. It's all about name recognition. It's all about branding. It's all about me. It's all about my stuff. Vote for me, that kind of stuff. Civics and government, that's the nitty-gritty. That's actually the outworking of our communities, of our state, of our county, etc., of our nation. That God has a very specific role in that. God should be considered. God's word should be brought to light on the issue of civics and on the issue of government. But politics is just man's game as we fight for power. And I think one of the things that the church in America struggles with is seeing the difference between the two things. A lot of times we say, good men like yourself say, we don't want to be involved in politics. That's good. But there's a way that we could be involved in the civic arena, in government and our state and county civic affairs.
Okay, we're talking about religious freedom. We're going to do that for a while. Later on, the Satanic Club, ASS, C. And it's a group that's going around high schools around the country and starting up. We'll talk about that and more.
Elementary school.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit Line.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common, everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
3:50, 10 minutes before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News. Would you like to know how to keep your brain sharp? Chris asks that question of himself every single day.
Yeah, I'd like to sharpen my brain, please.
How do we get our brains sharper? Well, there's going to be an absolutely free Lunch and Learn hosted by the folks at Seniors on the Move. And their guest speaker is going to be Harry Pym, and he's going to teach us how to keep our brain sharper.
You gotta test these out.
There are brain exercises that we can do every day, absolutely free of charge, that will keep our brain sharper. And you probably never even thought about exercising your brain. You think that's Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy. No, there's more. But there's more. Anyway, call 225-1455 to grab a seat. They are limited. It is free, and it's going to be at Waterfront Seafood Market over at 2900 University Avenue in West Des Moines.
And Mac is telling you it's free because it's only free if you tell people that Mac told you to call them. It's actually a $10 event because you're going to get fed. So if you just call that number and want to go, it's going to cost you $10. But you do have to reserve a seat in order to get in because the seats are limited. So if you want to go to this, it's a free lunch then, an opportunity to learn. Seniors on the Move are doing it. Yeah, call 515-225-1455. Tell them Mac sent you, and the lunch is free.
And that speaker is Nancy Pym.
What did I say?
Harry.
Okay, Nancy Pym. And website, by the way, seniorsonthemove-ia.com. Seniorsonthemove-ia.com. And you can check that out. All right, my guest for the whole show today is Davey Bloom. You're really 47?
3.
Oh, 43? Oh, okay. I thought you said you were 47.
Was there something about sharpening your brain?
Yeah, see?
He's going to go to that.
That's apropos.
Seafood and sharpening your brain, see?
Omega-3s.
Davey is one of the founders of a church called Two Rivers Church. It now has 2 lead pastors, and you're not one of them. Randozio.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
You did.
I did? Wow. And who's the other one?
Josh Goodman.
Oh, I know both those guys.
Yeah, great
Josh
guys.
was...
Yes.
somewhere else, right?
Yes. Lots of other places, but yeah.
Good.
Great guy.
Well, you didn't call me when you had a pastor opening.
Oh, my gosh. I've only told you about him like 5 times. Never mind.
No, Mac wanted to apply.
Oh, you wanted to apply?
Yes.
Yeah, when we merged churches, remember, he started Echo Park. We started...
Okay.
When we merged, we just kept 2 lead pastors as opposed to firing one and keeping the other one.
There you go. And Josh and Randozio is excellent. You've been with him forever.
Yes.
But Josh is really a sharp guy.
Yes.
Talk about a guy who deserves to have a good congregation.
Yes.
He's a good pastor. Anyway, so those guys split the lead pastor. What do they, just one preach one Sunday and the other preach the other Sunday?
A lot of times where they'll take a series. One will take a series and the other one will do their own series for 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, so they can take some time off?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyway, they meet at 10:30 in the morning, Sunday mornings, at the Des Moines Social Club downtown. I would encourage you to check that church out. All right, we're talking about religious freedoms here in the United States of America. This, as a brand new article in the New York Times written by Lori Goodstein, has hit the internet today, and it will be in publication on Sunday. And the radio show is featured, is that fair to say? Is discussed, is mentioned.
Made fun of.
She didn't
drab
make
building.
fun of you. Just we're in a drab building. But we are in a drab building.
No, it's true.
I would really question if she said, in this beautiful, exciting high-rise looking over the plains of Iowa.
Trump Tower.
Yeah, that's what we should call this.
The Mac Tower.
The Mac Tower.
Mac Tower.
Mac Tower.
Mac Tower.
Penthouse floor. The Mac Tower.
That's right. We're on the penthouse floor. That's right. I'm telling you. All right, so anyway, they came into town a month ago or whatever it was but it was more than a month ago now, to do a story on Betty and Dick Odegaard from the Gorst House and then Ryan Jorgensen from Harvest Bible Chapel and how they came together. And our name kept coming up because we were involved in both those parties during that time. And so she came in and she did a little story on the radio station, some of the stuff we thought. There's a picture of Chris in the New York Times right now. There isn't?
It's not a picture of me.
It's a picture of you.
It's a picture of the studios, and there unfortunately is me in part of that picture. Mm-hmm.
And why do you say unfortunately?
This is a lousy picture.
But it just proves that you've got a face for radio.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, and the best thing about it is the picture that they have in there of Picasso. Picasso is in the picture because Picasso was absolutely wiped out that day. If you recall, this was like 6 o'clock in the evening, and we had been here since 3 in the afternoon doing the show. So
that's like 3 whole hours.
Well, Picasso works hard on the show. I mean, he's down there right now just doing
sleeping
show
like a
prep
beast.
Is he sleeping?
You were going to say sleeping like a dog. That's the funny thing.
Oh, you were, weren't you? So we talk about religious freedoms, and I want to hear from you at 244-0077 of some of the religious freedoms that you think are slipping away from us. You know the old story that if you throw a frog into a boiling pot, he's going to jump out. But if you put a bunch of frogs in a lukewarm pot and then slowly turn up the heat, the frogs won't realize they're actually boiling to death and they will die. And I believe that's what's happening in America to religious freedoms.
Do you think Christians in America are just being spoiled brats? I mean, we've been in a Christian nation really since our founding. We've had religious freedom. Believe whatever you want. Start whatever church you want. Create a new denomination. Gosh, create a cult and kill people if you want to. I mean, that's what's happened in the country, and it's all fed under the guise of religious freedom. And now all of a sudden Christians are not the majority. Christian thought is not the majority thought. People are becoming hostile towards the church, and we're getting upset. Are we just acting like little kids that got their lollipops taken away? I mean, it's really, in a lot of ways, I feel like maybe we're being a little bit immature because we've had it so good for so long that now things get just the slightest bit, the tiniest bit difficult. And we've waged war on the culture. National campaigns, millions of dollars, bus tours, billboards, radio, television ads. All because our little bit of freedom has been taken away? You think we're kind of throwing a fit and need to calm down?
Yeah, I try not to pay attention to that stuff as much.
I see it a lot. It's a hazard of my job.
That's true.
Frank?
Well, I consider a couple of the twin institutions that came out of Eden was marriage and the Sabbath. The Sabbath has been long under attack, but now marriage is joining the ranks with the Sabbath, and I just happen to think that any institution that God created that's under attack ought to be defended by Christians.
I would agree. And maybe we're not in a place in this country where we've got the water turned up boiling enough yet. Maybe it's not hot enough in our pot of religious freedom or the lack of. But at some point, it's going to be up to the church. And as Dr. Michael Brown said today, the day is coming. I mean, it's
so up to the church to do what?
Well, we'll talk about that next hour. What should the church do to protect religious freedoms? And one of the first ones I want to talk about is what happened in Houston, when the mayor of Houston demanded that pastors send their scripts in for their upcoming sermons. They would be edited and given back, and they would have to deliver them that way, edited. It's crazy what's going on. I want to hear your voice, 244-0077, or at the Service Legends Truth text line at 809-0993. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Right here on The Truth.